We're continuing to track the COVID-19 outbreaks in our area jail facilities. Today, the Department of Corrections is reporting 779 COVID-positive inmates at Airway Heights.
The amount of support that Amy and I have received has just really helped us immeasurably.
Spokane's former regional health officer, Dr. Bob Lutz, has a new job title. Tonight, we hear from Lutz, who is the newest member of the Washington State COVID response team.
As our first snowfall in December comes to an end for tonight, more rounds of snow is on the way, especially for this weekend.
We are continuing to track the COVID-19 outbreaks across our area jail facilities. And today, the Department of Corrections, as you heard, is reporting 779 COVID inmates at Airway Heights. And of course, we are also going to check in with Dr. Bob Lutz about his new title. All of that and more coming up as we check in with Thomas Patrick as well. And we do want to thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 News at 5 o'clock. I'm Joshua Robinson. Mark and Whitney are off tonight, and a day after the Washington State Department of Health announced that it hired Dr. Bob Lutz to work on its COVID response team, we're hearing from Lutz himself. While he declined to discuss his firing from the Spokane Regional Health District, he wanted to thank the community for all of their support this past month. And as KREM 2's Mark Hanrahan reports, he also talked about why he decided to stay in the fight against COVID-19.
So for me, this is a job half finished. This is a book half read. And so I really want to be involved. This is my community. And I really want to ensure as much as I can as one person, the safety and well-being of every community member. To be able to do that also at the state level so that I can really have impact across the entire state. That's why I do it.
What has the last month been like for you?
Yeah, Mark, definitely it's interesting would be probably the best adjective to use. It's just, a lot of ups and downs. It just, there have been some highs and some lows. Certainly, as I mentioned earlier, Mark, the amount of support that Amy and I have received has just really helped us immeasurably during the last few weeks.
What do you think about the current situation with COVID-19 in Washington and in particular in Eastern Washington?
It's disturbing. It's concerning. Certainly in Spokane, as you know, if you look at the curve, you've never really seen a decrease of significance. Gosh, we had a little bit of a downturn during the summer, but for the most part, we've just been on this sort of gradual rise. And then, after September, it just sort of exponentially blew up, and we continue to see a real significant increase. Spokane, but also Eastern Washington.
But do you feel like Spokane Regional Health at the moment is handling the situation good or poorly, or could they do better? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think, irrespective of me not being there, Mark, the professionals at SRHD, they always will be doing their best work to ensure the safety and the health of the entire community. So irrespective of my absence, they're doing everything they can, but it's not just the agency, it's not just the public health professionals, it's everyone collectively that needs to be really working, because, what they're doing is providing the guidance, providing the epidemiological investigations and recommendations, but it really comes down to what people are doing.
And again, Dr. Lutz declined to discuss his departure from Spokane Regional Health. In terms of his new role, he says he'll be focused squarely on the state's response to the pandemic. He says he'll be working remotely and that he and his wife are staying in Spokane. We want to take a quick check with the weather coming up. We're going to continue to see that snow falling around the inland northwest tonight as we have seen today. Let's check in with Thomas Patrick to break down what we can expect through the weekend and maybe even right now since you're outside, Thomas.
Yeah, back in the Outdoor Weather Center. Have been a little bit since we've used it, and honestly, what a better chance to do it while it is still snowing out here. Not quite as heavily as it was during the morning or afternoon hours, but a gentle flurry still falling across parts of the inland northwest, including right here from our South Hills studios. On the visibility map, you can at least see where that snow still creating at least a foggy condition between the Palouse and up towards the airport area, being reported at just a half-mile visibility at the moment. Here is Doppler radar. Actually, the most snow is falling in the eastern portions of the Palouse down towards Moscow as well as the Pullman area. I think the snow up towards Spokane and Coeur d'Alene is starting to thin out quite a bit over the last couple hours here. Here's the next 12 across the region. In fact, the snow is expected to come to an end within a couple hours here. We're set up for a pretty dry day on Saturday, but there are more snow chances almost most of next week, the first of those being on Sunday. So prepare for another small round of snowfall to finish up the weekend, but there's a lot of snow and even more rain potential for most of next week. We'll cover that extended forecast in just a few minutes.
We'll see you back here then, Thomas. We are also continuing to track the COVID-19 outbreaks across our area jail facilities tonight. Today, the Department of Corrections is reporting 779 COVID positive inmates at Airway Heights. The Geiger Correction Center shows 83 inmates are COVID positive today. That's nearly 61% of the inmate population. Geiger operator and the Spokane Regional Health District gave an update on conditions. KREM 2's Amanda Rowley shares the latest.
In just 1 week, the number of COVID-19 cases among Geiger inmates jumped from 6 to 83. That means nearly 61% of the inmate population have tested positive. Spokane County Detention Services Director Mike Sparber attributes this uptick in cases to increased testing.
Before we didn't test everybody that was out there. Now that we're testing, it's identifying more cases that were spread than we had realized.
COVID-19 inmates are being isolated in Building A, but 4 of the 83 cases will soon transfer back with healthy inmates in Building B because they've recovered and tested negative.
We have not sent any patients to the hospital for COVID. We've had very minor symptomatic patients, the generalized normal cold flu-like symptoms.
Geiger is working with the Spokane Regional Health District on strategies to address the outbreak at the facility. Inmates who test positive for the virus are held in isolation for 10 days. Then, if they test positive again, the 10 days of isolation resets. Quarantine is set for 14 days, and inmates are tested twice each week.
A new addition is also a testing at the end of that 14-day quarantine prior to the inmate entering general population. That's just an additional safety measure that has been implemented.
We're hearing from several families who have family members who are inmates at Geiger concerned about corrections officers not wearing their mask or not wearing them properly. I guess so. Mike, can you say that all officers are wearing their masks, and if they need to be wearing it properly, how is that enforced?
The officers are mandated to wear them, and it's a responsibility of our command staff to monitor, whether or not they have the mask on. I'd really be surprised if the information were that accurate, because our staff are very conscientious about their personal safety and their family safety.
Director Sparber also says there is no limitation on showers for COVID-positive inmates in isolation. And while he is optimistic the current number of positive cases will decline, the health district expects to see the overall case totals increase as more test results come in.
I expect to see additional positives, but not at the rate that we have seen thus far.
Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
Today, the Spokane Regional Health District is reporting 345 new COVID-19 cases. There are 2 new deaths, bringing the total number of deaths to 299. 62% of people who have had COVID in Spokane County have recovered, and 121 Spokane County residents are currently hospitalized. Looking now to North Idaho, the Panhandle Health District is reporting 219 new coronavirus cases. 2 new deaths were also reported. Currently, 73 North Idaho residents are in the hospital, and there have been over 12,000 coronavirus cases since the pandemic began. Also new tonight, a wedding in Adams County is now linked to at least 1 death in a Grant County long-term care facility. Health officials say staff at local care facilities were part of the 300 guests at the wedding. Our own Ian Smay is in the newsroom to break down what we know so far. Ian?
That's right, Joshua. That wedding in Adams County made national headlines after being deemed a super spreader event. That's because the wedding has been linked with outbreaks at long-term care facilities in Grant County.
It's our community that's bringing it into these facilities. It's not the facility's fault that they're dealing with what they're dealing with.
Grant County Health District officials have confirmed that at least 3 wedding guests went to work at a long-term care facility in Moses Lake while infected with COVID-19, but they didn't know they were contagious. 15 people died in that outbreak at Lake Ridge Center in Moses Lake, with 3 more deaths awaiting review. These deaths happened after the wedding, but the health district says it can't directly link the deaths to the infected workers. Those health officials also say they suspect staff at another long-term care facility in Grant County, Columbia Crest Center, may have attended the wedding, but employees who tested positive for COVID-19 there didn't confirm they were at the wedding. 8 people have died in the outbreak at Columbia Crest. Grant County health officials did confirm at least 1 long-term care facility resident died as a result of the wedding. That death happened at a facility in Ephrata. There is at least 1 more outbreak at a Grant County facility. McKay Healthcare and Rehabilitation suffered an outbreak earlier this year, but it started before the wedding was held. McKay says it isn't managing any active cases at this time. Now, we should note that the Moses Lake School District reported that 11 staff members said they attended the wedding. That spread to 1 other staff member at least. The district also reports that 14 additional cases could be tied to the wedding, but not confirmed. So far in Grant County, 65 people have died of coronavirus, with a little more than a third of those being residents in long-term care facilities. Joshua?